Hello everyone, at Manga Kid here to do a review of Woshibai's 20 kilometers per hour. This is a collection put out by Drawn and Quarterly. It is a one of those, like, what do they call it? Like a oh, like hardboard or something. It's not a hardcover, but it's also not technically a soft cover because it's got that like kind of thicker Bristol boardy sort of situation, but well put together, really nice binding. The pages are really wonderfully a nice quality. It's a nice heavy book for how small it is. Like this is where's a like a standard size volume. It's a bit shorter. So it is a bit more compact, but it is very well put together, as is any Drawn and Quarterly release that I have is excellent quality. This is a Chinese creator, I believe, and I think this is it was like a web comic sort of thing where they were releasing these little short vignettes online, and it's been collected now into this physical collection. This is one of the best things I've read all year. It has been, I was reading a lot at the beginning of the year, but it has definitely been a slower year for reading manga for me, for various life reasons. I'm trying to get back into it now, but this is incredible. There is no dialogue at all. There might be one or two words in here, but there's no dialogue. And the back says, a startlingly delightful cocktail of existential dread and silent slapstick. And that is a perfect description of this. I don't think I could describe it any better. But I guess I'll try for the sake of the video. It is 2 or 3 page little stories. Again, no dialogue. And it's just like a few pictures in a row and then sort of a punchline that is sometimes funny, sometimes sad, sometimes confusing, and sometimes just really hits you on an emotional level you weren't expecting. And I think that the beauty in this, and this is not for everybody, I wouldn't like blanket recommend this to everybody, but if you like alternative stuff, if you like any kind of comic where it just is silent, sort of series of photos, and then it kind of just ends and you're left with either confusion or, a feeling of comic relief or like kind of a dark comedy, because there's a lot of stuff in here that is rather on the kind of darker side of things, hence the existential dread. But I found it very comforting to read. And honestly, I thought that this would be something that I wouldn't be able to read in one sitting, because I figured, you know what, you're going to read a few of them and then it's going to feel repetitive, and then, you're going to want to put it down and pick it up, a few days later or whatever. But honestly, I read it in one sitting. I sat outside in the summer when I bought it, and I just read it on my front porch, and I was laughing, and I was, feeling a lot of things while I read it, because some of them really, they just end in a way that make you want to sit with it for a second and think about it. And because there's no dialogue, I often found myself just going, I'm not sure I understood what happened there. Go back to the beginning, which is only 3 or 4 pages, because these things are, I think the longest one was like 6 pages. But again, it's like 6 it's like 6 pictures. So it's really not that long. But yeah, so I would start over at the start of that particular story and then look at it, not necessarily read it because there's nothing to read, and just kind of go through it a couple of times to really understand what I was looking at. But yeah, it certainly made me think, and I think this is something I will pick up quite frequently because I feel like there are certain ones in here that like maybe I just didn't understand the first time, or I felt a certain thing that like, a few years from now I might read through it and I'll go, huh, that makes me feel differently than I remember. Or I interpret this a different way, because when there's no dialogue and there's really there's no character development per se, it's not a plot. It's a vignette. It's a little like critique or interpretation of life or something. Like it's or a statement or a fact about something that like the creator's trying to say something about this particular thing, or like it's very hard to explain. But I just feel like this is a work that I will go back to relatively frequently, and I think it's something that will adapt and evolve over time in terms of how I enjoy it and how I interpret it and how I consume it. But it's also fun because it's like, this is a pretty thick volume for stories that are like 5 pages long. It's fun to just flip through, and you can just pick it up before bed or in the morning or whatever. Flip through and just find a random story and look at the few pages that it is and just go, huh, that was interesting, right? Like it's kind of like a fun little game in that way, where you can literally flip to anything and just get something out of it, without having to reread the whole thing in one go. But definitely, I recommend this. If anything I've said sounds even remotely interesting to you, this is worth it. Yeah, I'm not sure if this person has created anything else. If they have, I would love to have it. I hope that if there is anything else by this person, by Woshibai, that Drawn and Quarterly will also release it. They're pretty good. Drawn and Quarterly is an excellent publisher, smaller publisher based out of Quebec. They're pretty excellent at like uplifting certain creators and stuff, and so when they do release something, they will typically go and release other things by that same person, as long as there's other stuff to release. That's the thing, and I don't know if there is anything else that Woshibai has created at this point. So yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. If you read this as well, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because I haven't really seen anybody else picking it up. Not that I've been paying too close attention to other people's stuff lately, but it hasn't come up in my life that somebody I know has consumed this volume. So anyway, 10 out of 10, recommend it for sure. So yeah, thank you for watching.